All right, through this technical innovation and an application called Skype, we're going to try to bring Deepak Chopra here. He's in Toronto. He wasn't able to be here in person, but Deepak I invited to come and share his talk about happiness from his perspective. And can you switch over to Deepak?
Hi, Jeff. Are you there? Can you see me or hear me?
We can see you. You're at the 92nd. You're back on stage at the 92nd Street Y.
Okay. Well,
All right.
great to be there. I was there in the 92nd Y just a couple of weeks ago, talking about the Superheroes book, which I did with my son. So it's great to be back virtually. I met Jeff at DLD, and we got to be really great friends, and he wanted me to talk about happiness. But let me share with you some very basic fundamental insights here. You know, for 35 years, I've worked in the field of human potential. And it's kind of a vague term. What does that really mean? But in the last few years, there's been some tremendous insight scientifically into the relationship between what we call the body, the mind, and the spirit. So let me go over those three words very carefully. Your body, and my body, and the body of every other biological organism is a process. It's an activity. It's not a structure, even though we see it as a frozen sculpture. It's really a process. It's very dynamic. It's constantly being influenced by everything. But most importantly, it's being influenced by the mind. Every mental event that you have has a neurological representation, which means there's a synaptic network in the brain that represents that, and then there are chemicals, neurotransmitters. So every mental event has a brain correspondence, a synaptic representation in the brain, and everything that happens in the brain affects our body. And of course, our body is always in a certain environment. What we're learning now is that these three levels, the body, which is a activity, 98% of the atoms in your body are recycled in 1 year. So it's an activity through eating, breathing, digestion, metabolism. But most importantly, the mind. And the mind is defined as an embodied and relational process. An embodied and relational process. It's in your body. It's relational. Right now, my mind is relating to yours. And, you know, through the internet, possibly if we are linking this somewhere else through live stream or whatever, then globally. My mind is relating to your mind. And if I get feedback from you, then you're relating to me. This is called the entanglement of mind. And with the new technology that we have, our minds are entangled globally, or getting entangled globally. In other words, we are literally laying down the new neural networks for a planetary mind. The new neural networks for a planetary mind. And when we do that, that influences our brains, neuroplasticity, and it influences our bodies. So your mind, your breath, your body, your brain, your breathing, your heart rate, your autonomic nervous system, all becomes a single process. And that's very fascinating because we can affect each other's state of happiness, each other's state of emotion, each other's biology, immune system through this new technology. So when I met Jeff, I said, what about creating networks of happiness? Because we found that if you're happy, and if you have a happy friend, then you're happy. And this is research at Gallup. If you have a happy friend, then your happiness goes up by 15%. And, your immune system gets a boost. Everything good happens in your body as well. You make dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, opiates, and everything else. But if your happy friend has a happy friend that you don't know, it goes up another 10%. And if the happy friend has a happy friend who has a happy friend that you don't know, it keeps going up. And you say, how can this be? Because the answer is, we are not a separate self. I heard the previous speaker. She said, we're not by ourselves. We are part of a new global mind. We are part of a new global body. We are not only influencing each other, we are being regulated and monitoring each other, and our bodies are also entangled, and our ecosystems are also entangled. This is amazing. So, when you look at all the new research on happiness, what makes people happy? Well, there are certain things. There's a set point in the brain. Are you seeing opportunities instead of problems? What are the conditions of your living? Or what are your daily choices that you make? Are you making choices only for personal pleasure, such as entertainment, alcohol, sex, and shopping? Or is there meaning, purpose in your life? Are you expressing your creativity? The point is very simple. Today, we have a new technology with Facebook, Twitter, Skype. The technology is the extension of our nervous system. It's also the extension of our mind. But we go a little deeper beyond the mind and the body. There's a deeper field of potentiality. Spiritual traditions used to call it the spirit or the soul or whatever. But now we know through the insights of modern science that when you go to the most fundamental levels of nature, you go beyond molecules, you go beyond atoms, you suddenly start to see that these atoms, which seem to be physical things, are also non-physical at the same time. When an atom or an elementary particle is left alone, it evolves into a wave, and the wave is spread out all across space-time. I've been asking my physicist friends, when we say that an elementary particle is both a particle and a wave at the same time, what is the wave? What is it a wave of? What is it a wave of? And what is waving? And they all sort of say, oh, it's a mathematical space or Hilbert space. But what they're beginning to say is that it's a wave of potentiality. When we get to the basement of the universe, all that's left is fields of potentiality, infinite potentiality. And that's what our soul is, our spirit is. If you get to the baseline, beyond the mind, you go to the bottom, basement level of your being, then the being of your existence is also the being of the whole universe. The ground of my being is the ground of the whole universe. And today science has something very interesting to say about it. It's a field of infinite possibilities. It's a field of uncertainty. It's a field of potentiality. It's a field of creativity. And it's a field of intentionality. Now imagine that. If you had access to infinite potential, creativity, connectivity, intention, what more would you want? So now we have the technology to not only access the infinite potential we have within us, but the infinite potential within all of us. And I think what we should be doing right now is really saying, what are we going to do with this new technology? Technology is agnostic, it's neutral. We can create all kinds of havoc with it, or as you're seeing, there are now revolutions occurring in the Middle East, in Jordan, in Syria, in unrest in Saudi Arabia, etc., because of the technology. The future is dependent on us. We have a devastated ecosystem. We have lots of poverty in the world. We have war, terrorism, but we also have creativity. We have imagination. We have insight. We have intuition. We have choice making. And now we have the technology to help each other with that choice making, to create networks not only of happiness, but of social support, to actualize and help actualize each other's intentions and desires, and to create networks of healing and wholeness and higher consciousness. Higher consciousness just means that we no longer think of ourselves, that we feel that if we go to a deeper level, what is being referred to by some scientists, friends like Sir Roger Penrose and Stuart Hameroff, they call the fundamental level of nature Planck scale space-time geometry, where everything disappears into pure potentiality, where the fundamental building blocks of the universe all exist in superposition, but where there may be embedded Platonic truths like mathematical truth, like creativity, like love, compassion, justice, equanimity, joy. If we can access this and we can talk to each other about it and we can spread it, and then we can create little podcasts, we can tweet the links. Boy, we have the opportunity to, for the first time, create a peaceful, just, sustainable, healthy, happy world. So my message is thanks to Jeff and his 140 group, and thanks to his pioneering work and that of many, many others, let's focus on creating peace, harmony, laughter, love, and consciousness which is not based on poverty consciousness, but abundance, not just for ourselves, but for our human family and for all sentient beings and for the great ecosystem of which we are a part.
Thank you, Deepak.